Welcome back to the BJJ101 Storeroom podcast. This is episode 12, and today we have a very, very special guest, Fernando
Pissini.
See, I'm getting confused already before we start. Pissini. I keep saying Panisi, which is like a deli here somewhere. So, Pissini, yeah. Again, joined by Eduardo Diaz. He's a fourth degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I'm Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and also Fernando here is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and black belt in judo also, and going to be soon a instructor with his own Gaha gym as well. So that's something that's super interesting. But like something that we always kind of like start with everybody is just introduce yourself a little bit, your background, what you do for work or what you have done for work before. And yeah, just talk a little bit about yourself and where you kind of like got introduced to jiu-jitsu or judo.
But if you want to tell your name correctly, you can do it as well, yeah?
So guys, my name is Fernando Pissini. So like Anton was saying, I'm a black belt in judo first, and then I got my black belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm from Brazil. I've been living here in Australia for about 5 years now. Been training with Eduardo since I got here. It wasn't the first gym that I've been to here in Australia. We're gonna talk more about that later. It was the second one. Yeah, but since I got here, I've been training with Eduardo, and yeah, it's been really nice to Edu as well.
In terms of like, so let's just go like. So you have like a sports and science degree as well, like in.
Yes, yeah, I have my degree in sport and science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Fernando, when actually you started training, like you said, you mentioned that you were first judo black belt. When you actually start training judo, what age were you? Where was it? Was that in your hometown?
I started training judo because of my dad. My dad was a judo guy, so he trained up to his brown belt when he was in school. And when someone moved to my country, my hometown, countryside, a small countryside town, and started teaching judo, my dad just got me straight away. That was 1992. I was about 10 years old. Yeah, so that's when I started judo. And then it was when 1997, I moved South Brazil to a bigger city to do my high school and to give my judo that step up. Because coming from a small town, there was not much people to train with.
Yeah.
So going to this big city is when my judo got in the next level, training a big team, competing all over Brazil.
How old were you at the time? So you started at about 10?
About 10, and then I moved when I was about 15.
Okay.
Yeah, to do my high school.
Like a boarding school almost, or something like that? Or?
No, it wasn't a boarding school. I just
you would still drive?
No, I went to live by myself. It was 1,000 kilometers from my parents. My dad just sent me away, just
so
go away.
Where were you living? Like in your own apartment or something?
Yeah, own apartment. My dad was providing everything for me, paying all my bills. So the only thing I had to do is go to school and train judo. So, but I think the most important thing here was judo, because like you were saying, like, oh, you went to live by yourself in your own apartment. Yes, my dad, he said, no, you can go. Many bad things could happen with a 15-year-old living by itself in an apartment in a big city. But I think judo was was really important, has an important role, because I was so into judo and training judo and being healthy to compete. I never got into any troubles, never wanted to go and party, and always focus on judo and being an athlete.
Being an athlete.
Being an athlete.
Were you able to look after yourself already at 15, like cooking yourself and doing all this stuff? Or something?
Yeah.
What were you making?
The way I was raised, everything.
Everything.
Yeah, the way my dad raised me was, we were like pretty self-sufficient. Yeah, so when I moved, and money wasn't, we didn't have a lot of money, so we had to do our cleaning, do our cooking, everything.
Yeah.
But and again, judo also helped a lot, because I have like all my friends, my parents' friends from judo. They were always helping me, looking after me. Yeah. So I was a nice boy.
Yeah, very interesting.
Fernando, like judo in Brazil, like for people that don't know, like judo was absolutely massive, right? Like as a extra school activity, every school basically had judo. I've done it like since I was 5 years old. Every club had jiu-jitsu. Even soccer clubs had great jiu-jitsu.
Oh, even jiu-jitsu or judo?
Yeah, sorry, judo. Sorry guys, judo. So judo was massive in Brazil much before jiu-jitsu. every school, every after school, every club, everything had judo. All the parents, my parent also done judo himself. So there was a very everywhere you find
Strong
people that,
history of judo.
massive, massive. And I know. Actually, you also taught in a high school. You taught judo in a high school. You mentioned to me that
From kindergarten to high school, yeah, all ages.
and I remember I used to love training at that age, like judo. I love it. There was so judo had such a structure, values as well. You know what I mean, of respect and make you a better citizen as well. Make you respect every other kid and etc. Like, what was your vision in Brazil at that time? Because what I can see, there was at that time, like everyone that stepped into jiu-jitsu, right? There were already, like, at least, let's say 70% of people at that time that stepped to jiu-jitsu had experience in judo, and majority of these guys actually accomplished a black belt in judo, right? So what was your view at that time, like, everyone doing judo and some people, where was the transition time that people start doing jiu-jitsu? And there was a great, judo completes jiu-jitsu in a way, like, you have strong grips, you have great takedowns with the start of jiu-jitsu competition and easy standing up. So what was your view at that time?
You seen that at the beginning you said that judo was massive in Brazil. Judo is massive in Brazil.
Still is.
It still is massive. We just finished the Olympics, and I think Brazil got two medals in the Olympics.
Always medals.
It's the major sport in medals in Brazil. It's judo. Yeah. It's not football. It's not any other sport. Judo got the biggest number of medals from Brazil, and I think judo is really strong in Brazil, and it's really old because of the Japanese migration. Yeah. After the First War, there was a massive migration to Brazil, so all the Japanese went there, and then we have the biggest population of Japanese outside of Japan. Okay. Yeah. So judo was always there, and you say, so I started training my judo just because of my dad. But with the time, I started training jiu-jitsu like once in a while. I think that happened with the majority of people that migrate to judo to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
We were just going to improve our ground game.
Yeah.
Doing a couple of classes, just to improve our ground game here and there. But I think there's a big difference in judo and jiu-jitsu. Judo coming from the Japanese culture, like you said, is something way more like, what's the word? Restrict, no?
Structured.
Strict, structured.
Yeah, strict,
serious,
yeah. So way more serious. So it's that kind of Oriental philosophy that, you kind of have to be a samurai, the way you behave on the mats. And then you start training jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu is more in the Brazilian way, so way more relaxed. So when you start, improving your ground game, and then you're just getting stuck and then you just change for something it's more like you than the other one.
Something a bit different. Man, I have very similar stories about like rugby. Like I went and played rugby for a long time and did all this stuff, and I did jiu-jitsu as like a extra thing to like improve my rugby and grappling and all. But man, it's such an interesting endeavor that's so like unique and artistic, and there's your own spin on it. It's not so restricted and stuff like that. It's so enticing and addictive for people to like. There's so many people that I know that were like really good AFL athletes that ended up going into MMA because of jiu-jitsu, or guys that were good at this or were good at that or good at boxing, and they transitioned to jiu-jitsu, and it's because it's so unique and so like self-explorative and like you're creative as well, and there's so many different aspects in how it like it just helps you kind of like learn about yourself and learn about life and stuff like that. It's really explorative.
One really important aspect I think is the social aspect of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That you don't find in other martial arts. The way you become friends with people from jiu-jitsu is different the way in the other martial arts. So I think that's why people get addicted to jiu-jitsu. They want to train jiu-jitsu more. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but feel like was natural for me. I didn't want to move to jiu-jitsu, but it was naturally happening. So
I think like with like what he's mentioning about that massive difference in like culture of like the Japanese kind of style, particularly most martial arts that kind of became popular all came from that Japanese structure. Like whether it was karate, Kyokushin karate, or this and this and this. Now, the reason I think that is because when you behave that way, when everything is so disciplined and so strict, you get good results. Like as much as it might not be fun, it might not be enjoyable, man. This type of like militant style, samurai style, there's no changing, there's no, accommodating for anything. It's this way or it's nothing. Brings results. Now, it's not always fun or enjoyable for everyone, but man, being strict and sharp and to the point, and this is how it is, and that's it, brings high quality stuff, man. It doesn't matter what it's in, whether it's making ramen noodles, whether it's making dumplings, or whether it's teaching people how to throw people to the ground, or sumo wrestling or whatever. When you have this strict militant attitude where you don't accept anything but the best, you get the best results. Yeah. And I think that's what made most of those martial arts popular. But for most people, it's very difficult to kind of maintain that discipline. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But jiu-jitsu had both, actually. When you think about that, jiu-jitsu offered that like a lot of, like right at the beginning, people defend the flagship level of jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Like it would be a real fight, you know what I mean, to defend jiu-jitsu against other martial arts styles. Yeah, or even like, we like the same girls. The guy would call your coach and you have a fight tomorrow at 3.
Organizing a fight.
It happened to me. It happened to me. Like and that was the way to go and be professional. Like no one's a coward. Like look, 3 o'clock, your coach, like this is happening. I'm not gonna get you from behind or anything. This is happening. We're gonna close the doors, and it used to happen. So there was this seriousness about it, but it was also with the Brazilian lifestyle, which was always like everyone go to the beach, finish training, go have a beer or watch a soccer game. There was this camaraderie to the highest level, I think, that made it so attractive, and it still is. Like
for sure.
It's an amazing lifestyle.
That culture has been passed through all of jiu-jitsu because, like you're saying, the way it started and the attitude or the culture that was ingrained into jiu-jitsu. Look, I don't think it's got the same like moral, like honorable kind of attitude as judo and karate and stuff like that. But like also we've talked about this before on other podcasts. Is like, man, at the baseline of everything, what makes things effective is reality. All right, why was judo so effective? Well, it was designed for samurais to throw other people to the ground and stab them in the neck with a sword or whatever, or to kill people on the battlefield in full armor. Like everything that is effective in terms of martial arts comes from real violence. If there wasn't real violence, it never would have been good. It wouldn't have been effective. And the way Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu became effective was guys, like you're saying, like these street guys or jiu-jitsu clubs, challenges. Kind of like having wars against each other to prove who's the best guy or who's the best gym or who's the best association of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And the thing was purely based on street defense or self-defense, and that's why it's been so effective in MMA, in self-defense and all this stuff, because that's where it was created. It was created literally. I'm 100 kilo guy, and you're a 65 kilo guy. Yeah. No, I'm not. not today. It used to be, man. And the heaviest I got was 108. But right now, I'm maybe like 101, 99. But anyway, the thing is like, Helio Gracie would go and fight, Japanese guys, boxers, and all these things that, 135 pounds or whatever, like 60 kilos or 62 kilos or something. Like, man, the guy's going, all right, I'm going to test the things that I'm learning and understanding against how good you are and how much power you have and everything. And they learn through learning judo and all these different things and having other people come there and challenge them and do all this stuff. They learn how to be effective in defense of themselves, self-defense. I can survive against a guy 50 kilos heavier than me. I can survive and protect myself, or choke unconscious and beat the guy that's bigger than me, learning how to use my body and the techniques of jiu-jitsu and maneuvering myself like at 50 kilos less. Now, it took him an hour and a half. He was never going to knock somebody out in one punch or anything like that. They would fight for 3 hours sometimes, but that's the reality. And it's not beautiful and it's not amazing and it's not spectacular, but that's reality and that's what works. Yeah, it's effective.
Yeah, but for me, I think the transition. So I never stopped like training judo to only train jiu-jitsu. Always was connected to both. But for me, the transition was after I got my black belt in judo. I got my black belt judo in 2003.
How old were you at the time?
Man, I'm old, so is, you know. But I think it was second year of university.
Yeah.
I was probably around 21 years old.
Wait, but that's super young to get a black belt in anything. Man.
Yeah, so I started really early. So
you trained judo for maybe like 12 years, 13 years, something like that? 10 years?
To get my black belt, yeah.
In judo, this is a very common age because it was so intrinsic in the culture that people start super early.
Yeah.
So in judo, like you're 21, 22, like it's normal, like where the athlete in judo gets it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said in Brazil, because judo is all in the kindergarten school, so you usually start early, and so it's very common like to get a black belt around
early.
20, early.
But man, not everyone's getting a black belt. How many people started jiu-jitsu and quit? Sorry, not jiu-jitsu, judo. You know what I mean? Like how many people? Man, it's still not common to be a black belt in anything. Like 10 years of dedication to anything is
100%.
unique, man. That's 100%. Impressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then after 2003 was when I got my black belt in judo. Is when I started like training judo, like jiu-jitsu every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because before I was, like I said, I was just doing one class here and there just to improve my ground game. In 2003, I started training jiu-jitsu like every day.
So you stopped the judo a little bit?
No, I was training both. And I started competing both. And then in 2004, I got my blue belt in jiu-jitsu. 2005, I went to live in the US. I went to live in Boston. And first thing I'd done when I got there, I was just trying to find a place to train, right? And I had a jiu-jitsu gym couple blocks from home, and the closest judo gym it was Jimmy Pedro's gym. You guys know Jimmy Pedro? He's a legend in US
judo,
legend.
yeah. Olympic medalist.
So but his gym was like 2 hours from where I was living. I went once. It's like that's
too far.
It's too far. Not realistic to go there. And then jiu-jitsu was just there, and then I started training jiu-jitsu like every only jiu-jitsu for a year. And then I went to the Pan American Games, got a third place in Pan Americans. I won a few tournaments in US. And then when I got back to Brazil next year, I think the first month was that I got invited to compete in a judo tournament. And I had this big injury in my shoulder, which made me afraid of falling. So for a while, judo was kind of hard for me because I was afraid to fall and get injured again. So and then when I just started training jiu-jitsu, and then jiu-jitsu became the main.
So you got injured in that tournament?
Yeah, I got injured in the tournament. Yeah, it was a South American University Games or something like that. And then I fell on my shoulder. I got a big dislocation. So I stopped training everything for a year.
Yeah.
But when I got back, like I said, I was afraid to fall. So I was just training jiu-jitsu on the ground, just jiu-jitsu. Newaza. And then it was... Yeah, and then jiu-jitsu got me.
But the funny thing, like, I was just thinking right now, like, judo was actually a curriculum in my university. You could pick judo as a subject to do it, like, and it'll be like a part of your course. My course has nothing to do with like sports physiologists. That was how judo was inside the society in Brazil, or it is inside the society.
Yeah, it is, man. I know because jiu-jitsu is growing so much at the moment, especially in Brazil. I think the Brazilians kind of embrace that as a Brazilian martial art. So it's kind of taking over judo now, but it's still massive. Huh?
Is there something else like for me? It's interesting just to learn about like the cultural history of kind of like Brazil as well. But like with this massive migration of like Japanese immigrants and stuff like that into Brazil. Is there like certain other cultural things that you can see like in the Brazilian culture now because of that introduction of like Japanese culture into the
love for Japanese restaurants, like everywhere,
the food
everywhere, which is one of the...
I'm married to a Japanese girl, so...
That's another one. That's another one. Excellent, Fernando. Good point. Well, I think the food is the biggest one.
That
right?
You can see like all the time.
Yeah, you just like everyone. Brazilians love Japanese food.
Yeah,
love it.
And one thing is amazing about the Brazilian vision about Brazilians. They think Japanese people are next level people. No? The respect that the Brazilian people has for the Japanese, it's amazing. You know. Yeah. I don't know. You want when you see a Japanese guy in Brazil, you always, as a Brazilian, you always think that guy is smart. The guy, he's a doctor, he's an engineer.
Respectful.
He's really
super humble,
really respectful.
Yeah.
And I think that's why judo was so good. Get this door open for kids because everyone wants to get their kids doing the Japanese
that cultural kind of attitude and
very
pass those morals on it.
Yeah, so
man, that's interesting.
Yes, it is very good.
That's interesting that's like one of the reasons that like drove the popularity for judo in Brazil. Like that they wanted to instill these behaviors and ideas into their kids and stuff.
Very good point. Very good point. But Fernando, so in your opinion, like I found this description once, like judo, the aim of judo is the perfect takedown, right? You get the ippon, you finish. Jiu-jitsu, the takedown is the beginning of the fight. You score 2 points and you carry on to the submission, someone tap. All right. Yeah. So, in your view, what are the main differences between both, like in terms of like even in a competition scene? You know, like I remember one time we having this conversation before, or in regards grading, we had this conversation before, and you said to me, man, in a judo comp, if someone takes that get changed in the middle of the stadium, he'll get disqualified, for example.
Yeah, not disqualified, but I've seen that happening many times in judo tournament. Like, for example, you finish your fight, you know, and you go and you take your gi just to get some air, and then someone just calls your name on the microphone for the whole, everyone to listen. They call your name, say, hey, Fernando, could you please tight your gi, tight your belt. It's not your house, not your living room. It's the discipline. I think the main difference will be the philosophy. You know, that discipline. That's the main difference. And of course, there's the difference between the rules and everything. In my view, judo and jiu-jitsu, they're exactly the same sport. As you guys know, who created judo was Kano in Japan, and then one of his students, Maeda, went to Brazil. And then he taught the Gracie family. Then they created Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So actually, it's just only
an extension of it.
Extension is only one thing.
It's a fusion, I think.
Exactly. But the rules applied to them makes them completely different. So they're the same sport, completely different rules. Because in judo, you have all the stand-up game, and you also have the ground game. Different rules, but you have the ground game. And in Jiu-Jitsu, same thing. You have the stand-up part, but the main part is the ground game. So, but I believe just the rules make the sport completely different. And I think judo being an Olympic sport, all the structure that comes behind, you have the government support, you know, I think makes judo a little bit more organized than jiu-jitsu nowadays. I think jiu-jitsu is picking up, like, but judo is still, I think, have more structure and discipline involved than Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But I think, I don't know, the way I like to, is to mix both. This is what I'm planning to do in my new gym, is just teach judo and jiu-jitsu together, you know, without separating them and making two different things, you know, teaching them together, and you can use the past of the Japanese philosophy with the past of the jiu-jitsu philosophy, getting them together, and then make one good thing, you know.
Yes.
But they go.
I think this mix is perfect, you know what I mean? This mix, like, with certain values that you have more traditional kind of that you have from judo, you know what I mean? And the laid back, you know, social aspect that you have more into jiu-jitsu. This fusion is where I think that is the perfect balance.
Best aspects from both of you know, and combine them, and, you know.
I think that's something that you can talk about to do with the professional, it's not corporate, but just like the kind of what do you call the organization, like scenario to do with judo versus jiu-jitsu. So jiu-jitsu is probably one of the most diverse kind of sports in terms of like federations. There's 10,000 federations. There's this federation, this one you're a world champion, this one world champion, that one. It's almost a little bit like boxing. There's like 4 different major things, and they all give different belts, and he's a world champion here and there and that, and like, funnily enough, the best guys are winning all of them.
There is no involvement from the government.
Yeah, there's no involvement from the government, so there's no like structured scenario like you're saying with judo and stuff like that, and it's good and bad. Like I see a lot of people complaining or talking about judo online and stuff like that, about how like, you know, it's not fair because this guy is, you know, friends with these gyms.
Politics.
There's a little bit more of a political issue with the judo stuff a lot of the time, which is the negative thing, but there's a lot of positives that come out of you know, giving way more people opportunity to go and compete, and it's way more structured in a way to like, all right, you're the best guys in the country and you're going to go and
There's
fight
a team, they fight all over the world. Yeah.
Working together with other people and stuff like that. So I see like the positives and negatives of that aspect, and then the positives and negatives of like the kind of like just the sports jiu-jitsu kind of scenario where there's no like federation or government situation or anything where you're competing for your country. You're competing for yourself as an individual, and that's great. But a lot of the times it's hard for me particularly, to find good training partners, to find people on the same level, and you know continually build your level. You have to figure out how to do that on your own. But you can go and fight wherever you want. You can earn money in all these different situations. There's more comps and there's more opportunity to go and compete and win and do all this stuff if you can get the money to go and compete. But yeah, I think for a lot of like people that are in jiu-jitsu that are starting off competing, man, it's difficult. Like you can't go anywhere, particularly if you're in an isolated area like in Australia. Like man, you have to start off paying your own flights, and you have to start off paying your own competitions. And man,
I think that's...
jiu-jitsu is expensive. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? The jiu-jitsu is not a sport for everybody. It's expensive to compete. It's expensive to train.
Especially because you're going and you're competing, and even the money you're getting sometimes not going to even pay your expenses. You know what I mean? Like it's not, the prices are not big, you know.
You just cut breaking even all the time.
Yeah, why we judo, because of the structure, if you win like a state championship, the state confederation will pay you to go and fight the national. And if you win the national, the country, the confederation, national confederation will pay you to go to the world. So you don't take money out of your pocket.
Even the camps, like if you're on the national team, they'll go for camps.
All over the world. While jiu-jitsu, like you said, you don't have that structure, so you gotta do it by yourself. But in a way, keeps you free to do way more things outside of that structure. You know, like those tournaments they're doing, like matching fights and doing like big prizes. Doesn't happen in judo. And it's happening in jiu-jitsu. So a lot of people are making a living out of just competing for those tournaments, you know?
Yeah, I just think it's funny, like this, like even what we're talking about now is like most people are just so like certain that, you know, this is the right way and that's the bad way. But man, like everything you have to look at is there's positives and negatives to everything. You know, there's the good things about the jiu-jitsu structure and everything, and the bad things, and there's the good things about, you know, other martial arts and other sports. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with in general. Just like recognizing, man, there's no perfect scenario. Everything you're gonna have something you're unhappy with.
Yeah, you know I mean? You gotta find something that makes you happy.
100%. Yeah,
like some people say like, oh, jiu-jitsu is the best self-defense. And you can have, but for some people, jiu-jitsu is not gonna be fun. There's something else. Maybe I don't know, karate will be fun.
Kickboxing,
but you know, you gotta find. They're different, but you gotta be happy.
It just it just depends what you want to do, man. Like everything has its place and has its situation, has its mechanic, but you just need to understand what that is, and then, you know, put yourself into that if you want to. But man, there's no, people are always, we've talked about this before on other things too, like people are always looking for this like one-stop shop, like this one thing that's going to answer all my problems or all my questions or all my issues. Like, man, there's nothing that exists like that in the planet, man. There's not one person that's perfect. There's not one thing that's perfect. Everything has the really great, awesome things about it and really negative things about it. You know what I mean? And
So Fernando, this is another funny story. Before you found Z and Garra and start training with us, please don't tell the names, you know what I mean? That's not the point here. I think it's more important is that the story. We know like Australia is super far away from the world. I was one of the first black belts here in Australia. Definitely like, you know, probably one or two. First full-time gym in Brisbane, 100%. And I realized that once you're too far away from the world, people can come with explanations that they don't have they're not the truth, you know what I mean? They're not the truth. They're not where they came from, or they just make it up stories. And people, because of the lack of information, they just go with it, you know? And that goes for also like there was people that wasn't so qualified to do the job, or they haven't got taught jiu-jitsu by some people that knew jiu-jitsu or knew the values of jiu-jitsu, so gets completely
diluted the quality.
Everything is completely like, it's for a Brazilian, this is unacceptable. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like you show a rugby to an Aussie guy and completely different. You go, man, oh my God, what are you talking about? You know, like, and yeah, just tell us how was this this situation, because it was funny.
Yeah, so was when I first got here, so I lived in the US, like I said before, and I also live in New Zealand. And those two countries, first thing I done when I got there, the first thing was to try to find a place to train. You know, so I was really lucky in the States to find a nice place. I was really lucky in New Zealand to find a nice place to train. And at first, you know, first place I went was a place I stayed for a long time training. And I thought we'd be having this same thing here in Australia. So I where I was living, I Googled it and I found this place close to home. I was like, oh, perfect. I was just going to go there. And then I went there in the evening. And there was just a beginner's training going on. And I was introducing myself to the lady on the front desk. And I was saying that I was a black belt in judo and jiu-jitsu, that I've arrived from Brazil like a week before. And then she said, oh, this is not a training for you. This is just beginners. So you need to come back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be an instructor's trainer. So there'll be a high level. So come back tomorrow at midday and you're going to be fine. Next day, I get my gear, everything, and I go to the place to train. And I get that there was 3 black belts on the mat and a few purple belts and blue belts. And I was like, all right, nice. You got even some black belts here, right? Man, when I went inside to the locker room and got back, 2 of the black belts, they left. They were with the gi, the belts tied, they were on the mats, ready to train. When they saw a black belt coming from Brazil, they left. They just left. When I got back, there was no one there. Man, I don't know if they were afraid of me, thinking I was a big shot from Brazil, but like you said, man, like if you come from a place that you train with everyone, you know, and what a great opportunity, man. You have someone coming from a Brazilian black belt from Brazil. It's not that I'm the best in the world, but I'm just arriving from Brazil. You have the opportunity to train with someone like that, and you just leave because you are afraid of, I don't know, show your technique or, yeah, man. But that was dodgy. I was expecting to train, and yeah, at the end I ended up training just with some.
Or you were a black belt at the time that you went there.
Yeah, I was a black belt. Yeah, and then I ended up training with the blue belts and all the white belts, and I got really disappointed because I used to be in the same situation that you were training in a gym and suddenly some black belt shows up and you don't know if it's a good or bad, but you want to try.
Yeah,
oh man, that feeling is amazing. Having someone different, high level guy, different techniques. Doesn't matter if you're gonna get smashed or not, but you just want to try. You don't go home, You stay and get smashed if it's the case, And I got really disappointed. So next day I Googled it again. And I found Garra. And I think I sent you an email, say, hey, Eduardo, I'm from Brazil, I just got here, I want to train. And then it's like, here we go again, I need to find a place to train. And then I came here to Garra, and then you guys just smashed me, gave me a hard time.
I don't remember.
And then I was like, all right. So they have a lot to teach me here, so I will stay here and then be training.
I remember training the first time. Fernando.
You remember?
I had a knee injury, I remember.
I'm pretty sure you were like scared of me, like,
yeah, I was so scared. I almost undid my belt and left this
No, but good that you stay, man. Good that you stay. I respect you guys for staying and facing me. It's super hard challenge.
I never had like this type of story. Like the closest thing to that is I remember when I first started jiu-jitsu in South Australia, that like at the gym there I was training, like just like a couple silly stories where like there was guys that would just maybe white belt, maybe just getting their blue belt, trying to open gyms and stuff like that, while like and it was causing a lot of conflict within the gym and stuff like that. I remember like certain guys that didn't really know jiu-jitsu at all, weren't very good at it at all, and like just like, all right, I got a blue belt, now I'm gonna open a gym, and like the instructor's going like, man, what are you doing, dude? Like you can't teach people and stuff like that, and they're like, all right, well, I'm gonna leave, and they're gonna open their gym as a blue belt and things like that. And
man, I did a declaration here on a magazine, because when I arrived here I was you know, it was like something, they had a magazine, I forgot the name right now, grappling something or Bujutsu, I can't remember. But they did like photo shootings, you know, show a technique because they have like these guys, you know, and it might be my profile. And I remember saying something, there was an interview as well. There was a few, right? There was an interview as well. And I said that like, oh, I don't understand, because at that time it was just a guy, there was me teaching full time, right? And there was a purple belt guy that received his belt because he went to seminars, right? Never had a coach, like, right? Which for me is already like I completely disagree with that, okay? But anyway, that's not my business. My business is to grade people that are with me, you know what I mean? Like my students, that's all I care. So, but I said on that magazine, I said on the interview, I said, I cannot understand why someone would train with a purple belt rather than train with a black belt, you know, because in Brazil, to have a gym as a purple belt, that's a crime. Like, it is a crime, you know what I mean? Like, you not have the diploma, you know what I mean?
No,
you're
no,
not a professor. And like, but here we're too far away from the world, you know what I mean? Like, and then people go, oh, but there wasn't any, but still, and not a lot of people, but the guy himself got super offended, you know what I mean? Like, but it wasn't a personal attack to him. There was a personal attack, what I believe, like, you know, like, it's the same as you have a guy, first year studying university as for the engineer, signing up on doing a building is exactly the same thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or a doctor, first year, like university, being in a hospital, signing up things, you know, giving prescriptions. So
yeah, that's one bad thing about you don't have that structure that we were talking about before about federations, confederations, something to, you know, to watch those guys.
But you watch it
opening a gym.
Yes. You watch every Brazilian guy's story, and here wasn't different. Like every Brazilian guy that has been brought in the right values, right? What will happen? Man, a guy started to help. He helps at the gym, you know, helps with the kids' class a little bit. You know what I mean? And as he come up with the ranks, at brown belt level, the guy started to take a little bit of the classes himself. You know what I mean? Under your guidance, supervision, blah blah blah. But it's not like, oh, I'm gonna go blue belt, purple belt, open my gym and tell you what, start grading people. You know, this is bonkers. You know what I mean?
It's not just to know the technique and show the techniques. There's more things involved in being an instructor. You know, like I was saying, when I was looking to get my degree in sport and science, that's the vision I had. You know, I wanted to learn things to make me become a better athlete and a better teacher. You know, so physiology, psychology, all those things that you learn at sport and science university, they're gonna make you better. You're gonna find a ways to prepare yourself to. You're gonna be educated. At the end, you are a teacher. You are teaching someone. You know, not just the technique. You need to teach more than that. Jiu-jitsu, like we were saying, involves way more than just choking people out.
Yeah, for sure.
So you gotta be prepared. You can't be just, you know, decide one day, all right, I'm instructor, so okay, let's choke people.
Yeah, no matter what,
some arms.
No matter what belt level you are, a lot of the best athletes don't even make good coaches. Man.
Exactly.
Coaching. True. We've talked about this on other
in every
podcasts.
sport,
like everything. Like coaching is a skill. Transferring your information to another human being is difficult.
Yeah, true.
And figuring out how to do that with different people and different attitudes and different it's a difficult scenario. And you have to.
So it's a new skill.
Yeah, it's a new skill that you're learning to get good at, and like anything, there's always like two sides of it, because you got to explain all the mentality and the concepts and how to kind of approach things, but then you also got to translate the physical skill of this movement and being able to hold your body in this posture and do these structures and blah blah blah. Like, you know what I mean? Like anything like yoga, you got to be able to explain why it's good for your personality and why it's good for you as a person to do all this stuff mentally, and what the physical part of the postures and stretches are good for. You know, it helps with your joints and it helps with this. There's always two sides to approaching everything.
You coming to yoga this Thursday?
And you got to cover both. And I've been doing it myself. Yeah, online yoga, online yoga. There's something
that this morning.
Yeah, good. I've been doing it online, but the thing that I wanted to talk about to do with like you're talking about the structure with judo, like, do they have like a belt system that's like founded by like a governing body? Because this is very, very common in jiu-jitsu that there's a fake black belt, there's a fake this guy, there's videos where the guy gives himself a brown belt.
They do much better.
Because I haven't heard of any guys like judo instructors being a fake.
No, you're not gonna, because who gives you a black belt is not your instructor, it's the confederation that gives you a black belt.
See.
You know, you can get promoted up to a brown belt by your instructor at the gym, but the black belt is a confederation that you give. You have to do those kata presentations. You have to show all the techniques in front of
a panel.
So there was like all the old masters from the confederation that are watching you.
Did you have to have any type of competition experience or anything like that?
Yeah. So when you the way I got my black belt, they had a point system.
Yeah.
So as soon as you got your brown belt, you had to be connected to the confederation, of course. And with this point system, everything you're doing in judo, you're getting points. So if you are you competing, you get, let's say, 30 points. If you win the tournament, you get 50. Yeah. If you attend to a referee seminar, you get points. Everything you do, the confederation offers you all those courses for you to do it. And you need to reach, like I remember for me it was 600 points. When you reach the 600, and then you can apply to do your exam. To do your exam. And then you have to pass your exam to get a black belt. You can fail. I remember another thing that I have to give the confederation was the criminal report. Saying that I was never done anything. Yeah. So everybody that gets the judo black belt needs to show that never had any problem with the law. Which is amazing.
I'm incorporating that one.
Which is amazing.
That's awesome, man. That's so true. That's very important.
Exactly. No, but all of it, just
because you don't feel. Imagine you giving a black belt to someone.
The system itself is a much better way of promoting people, not based on opinion or like someone paying money off a seminar, like you talked about, or whatever. It's like it's a body of work. It's meritocracy. You have to do all these things. You have to achieve this thing. You have to pass the exam.
Perfect.
You have to do the course for the rules. You have to do the seminar for the techniques. You have to enter competition. You have to win competition. You have to blah, blah, blah.
And one good thing is you cannot get those points. And you have a minimum of 3 years to get those points.
Yeah.
So you have to have a minimum of 3 years as a brown belt.
Yeah.
You know? And I've seen people, man, that never got their black belt because they have they're failing to show a criminal report, or because they're not practicing the kata properly. So they're getting their exam, they're failing.
They're not competing or scoring enough points. Yeah.
And other thing of the point system, you cannot reach those points only competing.
Yeah, you have to do other
You
stuff.
have to do other stuff, first aid courses, the confederation seminars.
Yeah. Rules.
Exactly. You have
preparing a person to be a good citizen, a good coach, etc. Right? Not only a competitor.
You need to give something back to the sport, to not just take. So you must be a referee in some tournaments. You must help to organize some tournaments. You need to be involved. You give something back to the sport before you just take it.
How about afterwards? For example, I completely disagree with jiu-jitsu. Like, stripes get done after black belt by time, right? So here I am teaching nearly every day, training every day. And then Joe is selling cars. You know what I mean? Got his black belt's been selling cars for 10 years, but he's going to get graded just because time. But he haven't even trained. For me, that's also...
I think that says something really nice. For you to get your stripes as a black belt, you just need to be alive.
Just need to be alive and get older.
Every 3 years you get and after a while you got your 3 stripes and you can give black belts and do whatever you want. In judo, in Brazil was the same system, point systems. Even after you got your black belt, you need to reach some number of points. That's awesome. And then get promoted. So you gotta be involved with judo the
even
whole
if it's
time
not competing,
to keep going.
As you get older, it's not
competing. Let me call
but...
Carlos Gracie right now. Let me have a chat. This is sounding a lot better.
I think it's
fair. I think it is fair, but the problem is if you create these systems and stuff, people can't open the gyms they want to open. They can't make the money. They can't have students competing. They can't every time you give a guy a black belt or a brown belt or a purple belt and they go and open the gym, they get another 100 students that are going to compete at their tournament.
Yeah, that's the difference between private and government, in one way, right?
It's all about what? It's all about what they can bringing in,
How much is to get a IBJJF black belt diploma? I think it's $1,000, right? Just a diploma.
I think so,
Yeah, so like in judo, you don't pay. You know, because you've been paying the confederation and everything, like, you know, the membership.
And you've been doing all the
when
work.
you become a black belt, you
entering the
pass
things.
exam.
Yeah.
They just give you your diploma.
Stop, Fernando, otherwise I'm gonna call. All right,
No,
have a chat.
He's going to call you guys and you're going to have a lawsuit.
And when some people talk about jiu-jitsu going to the Olympics and things like that, I think it's gonna take a while because things like that needs to happen. You know, you need to.
I don't know.
Some things need to be more
so
legit.
difficult.
And things like that.
Yeah.
And it needs to be easier for people from outside to see. No, this guy got his black belt because he's done this and
This
that.
and this, yeah.
I've seen guys that got their black belt because they're really friends with them, the instructors. You know,
Yeah.
the wives are really good friends. So I'm gonna promote you a black belt. So you're walking with me. So you should be a black belt.
Yeah.
Someone that's barely training.
Yeah,
You know,
just
you-
takes one dodgy person to dodge it up the whole
it's too
system.
easy, man. A black belt,
True.
it's worth a lot of money. If you are a black belt, you can open your gym. It's like a
Yeah, you
profession.
can promote it. As
It's
a
sad. It's sad. It's a very thin line between commercial and martial arts, you know.
Exactly.
And a lot of
Yeah,
people go to the other side, and that's why I always like to have like other jobs, other works that I do. You know what I mean? Aside from jiu-jitsu, so I can be 100% like to my mindset. You know what I mean? Like follow my mindset and what I believe is right, rather than try to make it more commercialized. You know. And I hope more people. I know a lot of people still doing this way, and I hope like we keep it going because that could be the beginning of like a terrible, you know what I mean, end of like a good system as well.
I think this like meritocracy thing still stands though. Like even like it used to be. It still happens. Like of course it still happens, but because of social media, because of everything, and because of competition and stuff, like. Man, if you're not a good athlete, if you're not a good instructor, if you don't produce like any type of quality in jiu-jitsu or anything, it dies off eventually. It's not going to happen straight away, but the more people are aware of everything, the more it becomes popular. That all that stuff's going to die off.
Agree.
Eventually, it will happen. I do disagree with like the difference in how you can achieve things and how it's like. Man, a lot of the main federations of jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, not mentioning any names or anything, man, they're all about how much they can get out of the athlete, not how they can give back at all.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, man, all of these federations, all of these things, man, a lot of them have only just started giving back a little bit to the top athletes because man, otherwise they're going to go somewhere else.
And they only start doing after someone else that we won't want to say names, all right? But more around like Middle East, start doing something and giving prizes. That's
giving
the
prizes,
only reason.
giving some type of like
financial recognition.
Yeah, recognition to the athletes that are dedicating their life to this sport. You know what I mean? And and it's good. It creates like a competition, which is always good, man.
And who does the shows? Like, let's be honest. Like, the show is made by the athletes. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, you need to reward these people. They are the main actors of the show.
Yeah,
you know?
usually the big sport leagues, they dedicate like 70% of the whole, the whole profit to pay the athletes.
Yeah.
And it should be like that because it's all about people that are making the show.
It's early days though. Like even like if you think about a lot of different MMA organizations, that was always the biggest issue to start with because like it's growing, it's exploding, it's getting bigger, but like it was still paying the athletes at a rate that's like not fair or it's not reasonable or it's not whatever. And that I think that comes with time and growth. Like judo as a federation or as a sport in this professional setting has been around way longer than jiu-jitsu, way longer. The history is so long. That's why, it's a bit more serious and it's a bit more this and that. Now, I'm not saying that they're earning way more money or anything like that. I'm sure there's actually a lot of guys are earning way more money in jiu-jitsu than judo.
Oh yes,
or wrestling and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and so there's good and bad to both.
True.
The reason for like this craziness with jiu-jitsu is because people are promoting those businesses and it brings more attention.
Yes, and it's comps everywhere.
You don't get the same attention for judo and wrestling and stuff like that. Why? Well, because it's not promoted in the same way. It's not about how much can I get out of it and this like capitalist type idea where it's just about earning
business.
Yeah, correct.
It's not a business. I think jiu-jitsu, the confederations is run like a business, which is good.
Yeah,
it's professional, but pros and
yes, it will keep getting better. It's getting much better now, and it will keep getting better in a much like faster pace. You know what I mean? because jiu-jitsu is also growing a faster pace, and there's comps growing, and everyone's starting
There's
giving
always
prize.
people doing the right thing, right?
There's people
we
doing the right
talk
thing.
about a lot about the people that are doing the wrong things, but still, I think the majority are doing really good work.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's improving overall, I think.
So, Fernando, talking about people that are doing the right thing, well, we are super glad to announce that you'll be opening Garra Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy Caloundra, which is, a dream come true in terms of location. I imagine how you feel, because like you like surfing, and you move have a lifestyle. You love judo, you love jiu-jitsu. So the combination with the location, I think it's an amazing venture that you're going right now. So just tell us a little bit about how is it going. And
yeah, for me it's just a dream coming true, man. How I'm gonna have my gym like a couple 100 meters from a surfing spot.
I remember we went out, when I went to look at the place, he's like, just come over here, Mike, come over here. We went on just around the corner. Look at there. Can you see the sea? I was like, looks good.
The ocean's bright. Yeah, man. It's just I know we had this chat before about like jiu-jitsu and surf, like getting along, getting together. Like
the culture is
so
close
exactly.
together, yeah.
I think the culture in jiu-jitsu and surf is for you, like trying to be healthy, trying to be prepared for your next session. So when you train jiu-jitsu, you always want to be fit, want to be ready to go to your next session and roll with your friends, have fun with your friends on the mat. And surf, same thing. You want to keep healthy, you want to keep fit, so you can go and have your next, on a good day, you want to go and surf and enjoy. And for me, I think the special thing about those two sports is it's you use as an exercise, but an exercise to relax your mind,
Yeah, meditative.
Exactly. So you out there, you're sweating, you're using your strength, you're doing your fitness, but at the same time you relax your mind, you're bringing bringing calm to you. I don't know, when you're out there sitting waiting for a wave, that you just relax and your mind relax. Same thing happens in jiu-jitsu, man. Sometimes people think that happens in jiu-jitsu, you guys smash each other. But when you guys know, when you're training jiu-jitsu, your mind is just in a state that's just amazing, So, and for me, like I was saying, my dream, man, can combine, finish my jiu-jitsu session, go for a jiu-jitsu surf, spending time at the beach. I think that I finally got in the point in my life.
I think like what you're saying as well. There's a parallel in the culture a little bit as well, like this meditative thing, but also just this very relaxed, camaraderie kind of situation where you're doing a endeavor with people that are kind of involved in the same pursuit of like the best wave or learning how to do this and control this and
getting together with friends to
do the same thing. It's super interesting in my opinion. I think like that's a very close.
I think if you can combine those two, your lifestyle is a really healthy lifestyle. So mentally for your mind, for your body. So I think that's
I think
great
about
combination.
I think about one thing as well. Like both have this element of. So when you're surfing, you need the wave will dictate what you maneuver you can do it. And jiu-jitsu, the other person will dictate what the best maneuver will do it. I think this is so you need to get out of your thinking about what you have to do and see the external, you know what I mean, on both. I think this is super.
Like every wave.
Forget about your mindset for a while.
Every training partner will be different. Different as well.
Yes.
Like I know maybe a little bit heavier.
You're right.
Taller,
every single day will be
legs,
different.
So you gotta adapt to every in every
little
movement.
intricacy of what's changing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to kind of change the subject back to like how saying like there's people doing the good thing and the bad thing. Like I think we all have like some stories more to like how you're talking about people leaving the gym and things like that to do with doing kind of like not the wrong thing, but I remember this is kind of like a clear memory in my head of when I was like 14 or whatever when I started doing jiu-jitsu, and you know what I mean, like they're like the instructors and stuff, they're doing like their best to kind of build those kind of values and stuff like that. But I remember like at a 14-year-old or whatever, there was like certain adult guys that would come to training hungover or whatever, or been drinking, and the instructor would make them go and train with the kids that night. You're not training with the adults today. You have to train with the kids and stuff like that.
That's even worse.
No, it's not worse, man. It's like a punishment. Like they're hungover, whatever. Not drunk, man. Not drunk on the mat or anything like that. Come there, can't, not being like a proper
you're not going to have fun today. Go with the kids.
Go train there with the kids. But man, I remember this, like guys doing, stupid stuff and going out and like stories of them coming back to the gym and then being like either kicked out or told you can't train for 2 months because they're getting aggressive with people out in the city or whatever, drinking and stuff like that. And saying, well, I do this, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I'm from this gym and stuff like that.
The blue belt syndrome, it's called.
Yeah. Man, I don't hear about this stuff as much, but I think like kind of how we're talking about this like kind of McDojo or like people just like kind of making up or trying to open gyms as a blue belt or like, man, I remember guys that would come there from other martial arts because again, like, man, not so long ago, jiu-jitsu was still like this new uncertain thing in Australia. It wasn't common. People didn't know what was going on. Man, even when I started probably 10, 12 years ago. Man, I remember like guys coming from like ninjutsu and stuff like that backgrounds and then coming and doing a class. And like, oh man,
coming and challenging.
Yeah, I never saw people challenge. I heard of people challenging and stuff, but man, I remember guys doing that and saying like, I want to try jiu-jitsu. It's not really a challenge, more of an Aussie kind of challenge, like not so confrontational, like I'm going to challenge jiu-jitsu. But they want to go there and, it's a less aggressive style than the, let's actually fight in Brazil on the street, so his martial arts better. But yeah, going there and trying in the gym. And like not knowing what to do and like their way of defending things was like grab the guy's nuts or do this and like what are you doing? What's going on? Man, what the hell? But yeah, man, it's just funny stuff. Like I remember talking with you a little bit about like this type of stuff. Like, do you have any experiences like this or like just I don't know, like instructors doing the wrong things or like students coming doing the wrong things and.
There's that to be honest, if we start like trying to remember, lots of stories will come out. But yeah, I remember this Russian kid back in New Zealand. I was teaching judo, and this was quite strong guy. I went to start watching one of the classes, my judo classes, and then I was hey, how are you? Did I introduce myself? You want to train with us? And first thing he said to me, I'm a black belt in sambo. I want to fight you. I was like, oh, okay, so you know any judo? Yeah, I'm black belt in sambo. I said, but we're doing judo. You know anything? No, I know judo. And he said, but I want to fight you. And I was like, wait, you want to train with us? And at the end, we can have, do some sparring, yeah? And the guy, yeah. But in his first moves, I knew he was, he could be that, I don't know, black belt in other martial art. Oh no, but he went to train with me. And at the end, he didn't know much, and so he ended up being thrown all over the mat. But at the end, he was respectful, and then he actually realized he didn't know anything. But he just went there to trying to, no, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna smash the instructor, and I don't know what he was thinking. He was gonna take over the gym or something like that, but. Yeah,
maybe they have a different attitude of what they're doing.
But he became my student, so, so you were a white belt. You can start from the beginning. So you don't know anything.
Well, I have many stories like that. I have a really funny one. Like a guy came in, like I think it was from Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know. I had a black gear, and he came in and said, "Oh, like that, like with his black belt," which is already a very unpolite thing to do. If you're a black belt in another martial art, you go visit another martial art, you're not a black belt.
Exactly.
Right?
It's not a transferable skill.
So let's put this out here so you understand. You're black belt
everything.
In any other martial art, you go to another sport, you're not a black belt. You shouldn't wear your black belt. And I tell people to take the black belt off. You know what I mean? Black belt in karate, great. But here, today, you're a white belt.
Just because you're a good cook doesn't mean you're a black belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
People have idea.
But this is already This already showed the ego of the guy, and then the lack of like awareness, respect about everything. In my opinion,
open your mind for something new.
Yes, but anyway, this guy comes in and go, oh, I look at him. He's already like pumped up like this, show the back and go, who's the instructor? I said, hi, I'm nice, friendly. Hi, how are you, man? Can I train with you? And then, like, you learn all to deal with these guys with time, and you know how this is not the first one. Hopefully, it is the last one, but who knows? So what I do, you always have these kids that are doing really well, and you know that the kid that's doing really well at the gym, he will give this guy a lesson before you even have to go with the guy. So you go, yeah, sure, I'll train with you, but just do that first one with him. Do you know what I mean? So he does the first one with him. The kid, of course, the guy, like get taps, etc. Like, get schooled by the kid in a sport that we're doing. And then after you look at him like, you still want to go? And then the guy is like deflated, you know what I mean? Like he goes like, oh, now which I love. This is one of the things I love about jiu-jitsu. There's no talking, you know what I mean? Like after you can come as inflated as you want, but man, after a couple of trainings, like you're gonna be on your level.
There's
you know what I mean?
Faking
if you're amazing, you're gonna be amazing. If you're average, you're gonna be average. If you're just the guy that talk, and you'll be just the guy that talk.
It's one of the best equalizers of delusion, man.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how delusional or how great you think you are, whatever you believe.
Humility medicine.
You're correct. It doesn't matter what you think or believe. This is what
is reality. Yes.
He used this technique with me when I came here first. Saying I was a black belt from Brazil, first row. He got me to go first row with Anton. Let's see you rolling. And then Anton smashed me, and then he was like, I'm not gonna even train with you anymore.
No, but for me, like this, I had the opposite stuff. Like I remember being like a blue belt level and training with somebody that's come from Brazil or whatever. I don't know. Like, and in my opinion, they weren't like a competitive black belt. They're a little bit lighter than me and stuff like that. But man, I remember training with them and submitting them multiple times. And then afterwards, they're saying, "Hey man, you need to do this," and teaching me how to do jiu-jitsu. And he comes over to me and says, "Man, don't listen to anything that guy says. You just submitted him 3 times, man.
You should be teaching this guy."
No, man, I think this is insulting, man. Like, people are so... Yeah, this is also insulting. Like, man, you got, how are you going to explain everything? Tell the kid doesn't know nothing if you get submitted. Like, the reality shows, man, that he knows something, right? Yeah. But, Fernando, look, I've been to the place. It's looking magnificent. It is actually... it's a very famous place there in Sunshine Coast. Not for the actual perfect reasons, but it was a place. It was like a disco and bar, right? Yeah, you should, like and there was like what was the name of the place before?
I think the last name, because I think there's been lots of places there. I think the last name was Upstairs or something like that.
Upstairs.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's right on the what's the name of the street as well? Because it's a very nice main street there with lots of cafes, restaurants.
It's the main street in Calandra. It's called Bullcock Street.
Bullcock Street.
Yeah, number 66. Bullcock Street. Yeah. By the beach, so it's quite easy to find the corner of Calandra. So
has free car parking all over the place. You know what I mean? Has a building from the government as well. There's free car park. There's shops around.
I think the place that we found is perfect location. Really great area, by the ocean, like I was saying before. But it's like you said, it's a good place to be easy find parking.
It's amazing the conversion.
And it's the main street, so have a lot of things around cafes and stores. So it's a really nice area. It's not just like a random industrial area that you're just gonna go train jiu-jitsu. You can spend your day around,
situation.
It just shows how the area is actually changing and revamping so much, because like where people used to go to, well, I think if you say that, they're gonna still be the same, but where people used to come to like to party, now they're gonna get smashed, you know what I mean? And now they're gonna use to get healthier, you know what I mean, and have a positive lifestyle.
It's funny because I'm a fitness instructor in the gym in Calandra, really close where I'm gonna be opening the gym, and I have some police officers, clients, and then I was talking to them, and then when I said, I know I'm opening a gym, upstairs from the pharmacy, man, the guy was like, "Oh, thank you so much. Oh man, thank you so much. I'm gonna spread the words to all my police officer friends. because you're not gonna have a nightclub there anymore. So many
so
fights. So
happy.
every Saturday was fights everywhere on the street. It's like, okay, that would be fights, still having fights, but inside,
Control,
with all control, no drunk people, everybody, you know. But like you said, it's nice. It would be nice to just to change the view of the area, you know, a place that people used to get drunk and go like, you know.
Boy, that street is
To a
perfect
healthy
now,
place.
you know, yoga places, Pilates, and you know what I mean? Like lots of cafes, super nice and
Yeah.
cozy. Man, I think I was in need of jiu-jitsu, to be honest with you. And the conversion is absolutely amazing because, I mean, the dance floor became jiu-jitsu floor.
Yeah.
The bar becomes the reception, right? The toilets, I mean, the toilets is always a dream. The toilet of a nightclub would be a dream toilet for a jiu-jitsu gym, so gents and ladies, etc. So there, it's super amazing. Like, it's really nice. I think we hit the nail on the location. Also, as you opening the gym and you're so busy now organizing everything to make it, I know it's going to look amazing. It's going to look like it's main road. It's going to be super professional. You already have this great energy, you know, and to bring like jiu-jitsu lifestyle, judo. But you also have like a Garra. You take another Garra academy, which we are very. I'm super strict to who I give these, who I give the right to open another Garra, and we now did you were opening the Garra with a whole fintech procedures in place, you know, so you have all your technologies behind, you have your online curriculum that you are able to use to teach the students from BJJ101.com.au. There is an amazing source of classes and also for students in general to follow up what the program the Garra has now. So we came a long way to become like a much more developed jiu-jitsu school that can try to generate a lot more learning, like tools for our students and for our coaches. So I think you're getting on board on the perfect time as well. And I think it must be very helpful to have all these assistants right now at this busy time for you, right? Because when you're gonna come, when you're gonna open?
We are aiming to be opening in a month. So in a month time, we're just gonna set up like one specific day to have a grand opening and everything. But in a month, yeah.
Surf. Nice.
I'm gonna have a barbecue
training.
by the beach. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think in a month we're gonna be all the operations is gonna start. And you were talking about being busy doing the setup at the gym. Man, I have a 13 weeks old boy at home. I have a lab puppy as well. So I think I'm way more busy at home than I'm doing the renovations. But like you say, man, to get Garra on my background, because teaching, being there and teaching the classes, dealing with parents, like just having that social part, that's easy, man. I've been doing that for my whole life, you know, training people. But all the background, all the way that you're gonna run the gym, one word you said, I think for me was really important. That would be a jiu-jitsu school. It's not like a regular gym.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a jiu-jitsu school. You're gonna run as a school and have all the background, all that support, even the way we're gonna run the gym at doing all the administration. You know, it's super professional, super easy. I think this is a way to show your clients that you respect them. You know, making things
Correct.
As best you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And make all the memberships, all the connection with the clients, making something professional,
Clean, honest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And I think, to be really honest, it would be impossible to do everything by myself.
Yeah.
To deliver a professional, service, doing it all by myself. It could be done. Of course, it could be done. But it's way easier when you already have someone with the knowledge and everything ready to pass to you, to give to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, having my baby, opening the gym, if I had to do everything combined, I think that would be impossible at the moment, which all this technology that God has been using, all the program, the BJJ, the techniques online.
BJJ101. Yeah.
BJJ101, that's going to help a lot because, about the video, some instructors said, "Oh, don't watch YouTube. You're gonna just learn the like wrong things or things you don't know." With the BJJ 101, you can actually follow the program that you were actually learning, So it's not that you're going way forward of your knowledge, it's something that you can rely to recheck things that you were learning at the gym.
Yes.
You're not learning anything without instruction. What are you watching there is
or not learning anything that's just like make you I do this just to look because it looks good, you know what I mean? Like
it's a cool technique. I think that I already talked about this before, but I think like the biggest difference in what we've been trying to do is just explain how everything works. You know what I mean? This is not the best thing, this is not the bad thing. Like we talked about with the federations of jiu-jitsu versus judo, man. You just need to understand how things work. All right. This is how arm bars work. This is how you do them. Here's a heap of different ways to get into them. Here's a heap of different ways to finish them. This is all the information about arm bars and understanding an arm bar. And then you take that information and you got to do something with it. You can't just watch it and think you're going to get good. You got to take that information and then go and apply it in the class and go and teach it in a particular way. And again, like we're trying to help people with coaching, with learning jiu-jitsu for themselves or whatever. So we're also going to start looking at how to explain, like, all right, these are the points of things that you need to convey in terms of a concept, and these are the things you have to teach people to do in terms of, like I talked about before, there's two aspects of everything. There's like the mental cognitive component and then the physical performing of the thing. And you got to cover both of those areas. You got to convey the information, you got to explain how it works and the details of it, but you also got to get people to do it over and over and over and over again. You know what I mean?
And sometimes it's nice to have that because you go at the gym, you train, you do those techniques, and sometimes you go home and like we train jiu-jitsu, you go home, you stay the whole day thinking about that row you had, that technique, you in your mind you're trying to improve, and it's nice to go and check and watch, especially people that you know. Yeah, so it's. So you keep learning in your mind, you rely to that to sometimes you have, but where my arm should go, and then you go watch the video, okay, you keep thinking that in your mind, so next day you can go and perform the position. It's not like, how can I say, something that you can have just that, right? You can just have, like you said, you can just have the videos.
It's a supplement, it's just a helping tool.
It's a supplement,
Yeah.
It's a tool. That's what I want. It's a tool. It's a tool. So it's gonna happen. So I think having that, it's gonna make my life way easier. Yeah.
And people are learning more. People that are on the BJJ101, they putting themselves to think at home, and other times, they studying the details. They think, I forgot this detail. They go there. They actually getting better.
Sometimes
keep training.
Sometimes it's just like school when your professor asks you to read a book before you go to the class. So you already got in the class with some questions to do, and then you get that instructor's view, and then you're already thinking in your head, all right, so I'll probably have like difficult to do that position, so now I'm gonna ask. So it's just something extra for you. I think that's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I just want to ask like another question about something completely different, but like I always curious about this question. Like I kind of notice differences in my own kind of travel and going and seeing people in different like countries and things like that. But we talked about culture a little bit before, but I think like the culture of like the country or the area or the people has a massive effect on how like the actual jiu-jitsu is performed. Is that something that you've noticed at all ever? Like from being in the US and noticing how they kind of do jiu-jitsu, and being in New Zealand and watching how they do jiu-jitsu, or being in an Asian country like Japan or whatever and watching how they do jiu-jitsu.
Yes, man, that's actually it's a big component. I think when you're talking about that, if you travel the world, you see that everywhere you go, there will be some difference.
There's a difference in style of how they approach.
Exactly.
Stuff.
So let's say like Brazil and US, we Brazilians, we have that thing that makes us good at, like in football, for example, we are really good in improvising.
Yeah.
So improvising and creating ways to do, but some people say about the Brazilian way.
Yeah.
And I think when you compare jiu-jitsu from a Brazilian guy, so they always have this I don't know how to use.
The body moves differently.
Especially the way the body moves. The Brazilians have that swing, that way to move, like
dance.
more smoother. And then you go to America, they're they do it all wrestling, so they have the wrestling base, so they're more rigid, and in the positions. You really can see that. I think with the Aussies, I think with the Aussies, man, to be really honest, but Michael was saying, like, when I was coming here, when I was coming to Australia, I thought Australia there was no jiu-jitsu here. You know, I got here, I thought, how big the game there. You know, and you guys, you go, thank you guys, and you guys thought, no, you're nothing. You know, just someone else. But I think the Aussies, they have, like, to be honest, quite similar to the Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Yeah. But I think if you compare Aussies to Americans, Aussies were way looser, way.
Really?
Yeah. Easier to connect than Americans. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Surprised, man. I think, man, I don't know if it's because of me being like an instructor at the gym and stuff, but man, I've always had so much more, I don't know what the word is. It's just so much more like interest from individuals as like students when I've traveled. Always, like leaving to other areas, and I think it's just because the novelty of it. Like, oh, there's a new guy here that's good at jiu-jitsu, so they're more interested in stuff like that, and there's a bit of excitement. But definitely the rigidness in terms of like just physical tension in their muscles and squeeze is a massive difference I've noticed in two kind of different scenarios. So in Brazil, like you're saying, that the people are more relaxed. It's normal for people to tap to lower belts or higher belts. It's just everybody training. And I think most of the Western countries I've been to, you know, in the US and here and stuff like that, the people care way more about like their social order. You know what I mean? So if I'm an important business hierarchy of their personal life, but also within jiu-jitsu. So if they're an important individual in their, you know, personal life, they really struggle to, you know, lose or to, you know, have these things happening because it's not normal for them. Mm-hmm. Like, no, I need to maintain this frame or this idea. And I'm like, man, you're never going to learn doing that idea. And then the second way is to do with the hierarchy of the belts. Like, man, it's like, they're going to fight to the death not to lose to somebody of a low belt here or in the US or whatever.
But if you haven't tapped for a lower belt, you haven't trained enough. Be honest, so that's my say.
Yeah.
Or you're a white belt.
Exactly. It's jiu-jitsu. It's all about
no, but like, it's interesting for me to kind of notice the differences, and even like kind of what you're saying. Like, the other time, like in terms of rigidness, is like you're saying, like guys from different sports. Like I've trained jiu-jitsu with like strong judo guys in Japan and stuff, and man, these guys are just on the top, just don't make much space or do anything. Not a lot happens, but. There's massive difference in the culture and how like jiu-jitsu is performed, you know what I mean? Like also if you talk about more specific like jiu-jitsu guys from Asian countries, they're so accurate and meticulous and whatever, but they can't improvise well.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They can't, something goes wrong, man. It's chaos. Oh my God, they don't do well in that. But if they get into the scenario and they get into the positions and do all this stuff, man, I just think it's super interesting. Like in all the stuff we're talking about, like whether it's like the cultural influence of Japan and Japanese people in Brazil that created, you know, such a big interest in judo and that like attitude that their parents and stuff are looking for to send people into it to create this type of characteristics in their kids and stuff like that. I just find it really interesting to just look at how people behave and how they look at things and how they do things, especially in.
But the influences also start changing, right? So, for example, the more influences of other cultures, you know what I mean? So the more, like what I'm trying to say, like with time, like there's more Brazilians now in America, so there's people already getting more to know with the food and going and hanging with more, with any other cultures as well. We have like with other Mongolians or, you know, many actually is very multicultural jiu-jitsu. So there's always these mixing and fusion of cultures that what it was like 5 years ago changed in the game as well. You know, there's always like this is a good thing about being a creative martial arts. Everything is welcome. Everything is added.
That's a beauty. So jiu-jitsu can actually adapt to any culture and still being effective. Even if they're different ways of view, and you're still effective and it works for everyone. You know?
And works for any body type. You have a game.
Jiu-jitsu can adapt to every community, every country. You know, that's a beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu. But there is difference, man. It's funny to observe that.
Yeah, I know. I find that really interesting to observe, just like through traveling and even just like the different coaching.
I normally prefer
coaching.
having this conversation with you when we're actually having a meal.
Yeah.
But I actually found super interesting as well. But when we're like in Japan having a meal, love this conversation.
Yeah. Just,
Really good,
I love Japanese food, man. It's so good.
Yeah,
I
I
love
love it.
Japan, man. In general, I think Japan's such a cool.
Oh man, I've been
Such a
there.
cool
I've
country,
been there once, and for me, it was one of the best experiences of my life.
Just so interesting and so
Beautiful country.
rich in culture and history, man.
Yeah.
For me, it's just awesome.
I think it's the respect they have for their history. It's
Yeah.
For teachers, man.
unbelievable.
Yeah, that's something.
Teachers,
But not even for teachers.
really?
They just respect anybody that is like, man. Even with MMA and stuff, they clap, man. They're clapping. For
Yeah,
guys
never
doing, like,
boo
even
someone.
if-
they have respect for like the competency of someone's thing.
Exactly.
If you're good at making
personal
moves, man,
achievement, yeah.
well done. Like if you're good at this, they respect people
The
that are
effort,
impressive
good effort.
and the effort and the skill and the time. Man, they are really, really respectful towards whatever it is. Whether it's like we're talking about, like someone making cheesecakes and they make the best cheesecakes in the province, or this guy's one a jiu-jitsu champ, man, well done. Like they value self-improvement and like people that achieve higher levels of things. Oh, that's important. Like, well done. They show great respect and care towards that,
like
which is interesting.
MMA is a great example, man. When we used to have like Pride back in time, the guy was two guys stepping up to fight. One is gonna lose, but we will never see a Japanese crowd booing someone because he lost was an easy fight. No, they respect the guy that went up there and tried, which is amazing. Nowadays we see some guys that train like years of their life, 10, 20 years, and go to a fight and they lose, and the people start booing because he lost. My God, this guy's been working so hard his entire life to be there, entertain you guys, and now you're booing him.
I think
but at the end, like MMA is a show, so it's
but it doesn't matter. I think like that's a really big difference between like Western culture and this situation of this like meritocracy, like where you're based on like your merit, the merits of what you're doing and how well you're doing is something to be respected and celebrated, and that's the thing that's different. I think here not here, but like a lot of Western countries and people that watch too much TV or too much Facebook and Instagram or whatever it is, man, they don't respect or celebrate anything. They don't even respect anything, and that's something that we work so hard with the kids here, like Agaha and stuff, is trying to instill these old kind of traditional values that, man, everybody wants in their children, everybody wants in themselves, but it's so easy to just like, whatever, who cares?
Give him Maccas.
Yeah, give him Maccas, or like, man,
Here's your iPad.
no, I'm busy right now, here's your iPad, blah, blah, whatever. And I'm not saying like, I don't have kids.
It's hard
I'm not
times,
an expert in teaching kids and stuff like that, but I think as a culture in Western like countries, we've gone away from that meritocracy thing where people are no longer celebrated or respected for their merits or their achievements or the things they do. Now they're kind of like celebrated for, people thinking they're interesting or cool because they did a prank on TV and now they become famous, or they go on a reality TV show and they somehow just get like some interest and fame and out of that. And
the look, they think
the
it's
appearance,
by the look.
And I think it comes down to there's been a massive shift in certain cultures in the world where it's feelings over reality. And I talk about this all the time in the classes and stuff like that. And the problem with that is it's chaotic. Feelings change and oscillate day by day, hour by hour. You can't operate your life living in that zone.
Exactly.
It's just completely chaotic. Like, and I know that jiu-jitsu sucks and you're going to feel bad and you're going to do this thing and, to get better, you're going to lose. And that sucks and that's horrible. But that's the reality.
Yeah, that's reality.
And like getting humbled and thrown into your face every day through doing jiu-jitsu, that's what's helped me learn that. You know what I mean? It's not about how I feel. You know what I mean? I could just go to the gym and go and lift weights and get massive and take photos of myself on Instagram. I'm sure that'd make me feel good. It's probably not going to lead to anything super positive in my life. You know what I mean? Like, man, I always talk about this type of stuff. Like, I get kind of stuck on it.
But you're right, man. But you're right. And jiu-jitsu is a nice place for you to teach people that.
Yeah.
Because, you're going to get there as a white belt in a gym. you're gonna get smashed for people half of your size. You know, they're gonna smash you, and they're gonna, what's going on here? What are you gonna do? Cry about it?
You will get defeated nearly every class, if not every class. So there's not like something that will happen eventually, like a knockout. You know what I mean? And then maybe never happen in 4 years you train, you know?
Yeah, and sometimes that guy that you smash that guy every day, one day that guy will choke you out. And what are you gonna do? Cry and be sad about it? No, you get back next day. You keep trying. You see where your mistake was. What you can do to change. Because you can use jiu-jitsu to relate to real situations in life. I think, which is beautiful. But like we were saying before, I think as an instructor, you need to be prepared to show your students those situations. Because otherwise, you're an instructor that things are happening in your gym and you're not aware. You're not helping your students. You're not aware of that. Of things to use. I don't know, a kid that's doing bad in school, but it's being relay that to jiu-jitsu and make him persevere. And go.
Yeah, man. We've had so many different situations where we've talked to kids, or they've come and talked to you and had conversations,
private conversations, with adults, group too, conversations. Man. Yeah, man. You have to. You're not only a coach, man. You're like a educator. Educator. You're a what's the word? Psychologist. Yeah, psychologist. So you're a mentor for a lot of people. Example. So you're mentoring people through life and things like that. But man, what taught you all these things about life? Man, jiu-jitsu. Because jiu-jitsu is a representation of life in a controlled scenario. All the winnings and losings and ups and downs and injuries and overcoming obstacles, and man, this is life. This is what life is, man. And all martial arts teaches you that. The thing is like you have to be present enough to actually recognize it and persevere for 10, 12 years and get a black belt in judo. And that's what most people aren't willing to do. Because especially in Western countries, man, this whole idea of I'm going to put my feelings and how I feel and what I think above reality and the merit of what's going on, that really hurts people, man. And that's what leaves them so unfulfilled and unhappy at the end of the day.
Yeah, and all those things like being a black belt, it's not about being a black belt, wearing a black belt in your waist. It's what you've been through, what you've done to get there, all that journey. And the journey is beautiful. You guys are black belt, when you got the black belt, it's a great feeling that you got, you finally got that. But something's like, I'm not gonna get promoted anymore. It's not, you don't have that thing to chase. Because the journey is beautiful. But also I think it's beautiful. And I agree. But the journey never stops. When you got your black belt, you're alive to learn. It doesn't mean that you know everything. You just gotta keep learning, keep improving. And you have that job now, you got the black belt. Well, now is the time for me to give example, you know what I mean? To try to give touch on things that I can touch, to make it people better lives, you know what I mean? I think it's super important.
And I had a completely different attitude towards getting belts. Man, I never even cared about the belts. I always just wanted to go and beat people in competition. So exactly, the journey, man. The journey is amazing. The belts will come if you're having fun, if you're learning, you're trying to, the belts will come, man. It's just, but you're there. You had your bad days, good days. 100%. But you're there, man. You're there, and then when you see, after 10 years, you have your black belt, and you deserve the black belt, and you feel amazing. But it's not the black belt that's gonna define who you are. No. I think the journey. I think if you're going for only the belt, man, you're gonna be very unsatisfied in life. You know what I mean? Just go. It takes some time. You can't go in a rebel sport and buy yourself a belt, put it in your waist, and you're a black belt. But Rebel Sports, by the way, sponsorship. But what? You have a black belt, but. Well, Fernando, thank you very much, man. It was a pleasure to have you on the Garra team. My pleasure is mine for you guys taking me on board now, part of the team. Oh man, it's always been awesome to have you around, especially with all your knowledge in judo and stand up stuff, man. I always enjoyed sparring with you, standing up and all this stuff, and man, I wish all the best, with your gym stuff, and I think anybody that goes there as a student is going to be very privileged and you know.
And we'll be going there. Anto's gonna do seminars there.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot of food there. Don't worry about it. There's a lot of
As long as
restaurants.
there's nice restaurants,
Yeah,
man, I'll be
exactly.
there.
That's the
Do some
best
barbecues
way
at
to
the
talk.
beach. Yeah, we're gonna have fun. I think it's gonna be a good place. So I don't know for all the Garras to get together. I don't know, end of the year.
100%.
Make a barbecue at the beach.
Pô, Garra Sunshine
have some
Coast,
fun.
man,
We
is
are
growing
good.
heaps.
Yeah,
Already
we're a
got
big family,
number.
so let's
Now
get
with
the family
Calandra.
together. Yeah.
It'll be amazing, man. It'll be amazing. Exactly. Like, end of the year, everyone loves Sunshine Coast. Everyone in Brisbane loves Sunshine Coast, the famous sunny coast. So every time people are on a holiday or go for a weekend, man, we're gonna have 2 places to go there and visit. So plenty of jiu-jitsu
So,
activity.
for the people that
Two
are watching
great
us,
guys.
you're gonna spend some time in sunny coast, like summertime. Just pop up at the gym and have some good times.
I
And,
will.
yeah,
I will.
Doors will be open for
I
everyone.
mean, I think it's a privilege to be a part of, like, you know, such an awesome community of people, man. In jiu-jitsu and everything, it's, man.
It is.
It's a big family.
It's a highlight of life,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
In a way.
And,
sure.
and at the end, man, well, I think for me, joining Garra team is because I believe in the work you guys do. You know, it's a great work. Like I said, you guys run as a school. I wouldn't be joining you guys if I didn't believe in what you guys doing. You know, so yeah, for me it was something that would confirm what I want to do, being connected to nice people that want to do a great job, not just as a business, but growing jiu-jitsu itself,
and
because
just
at the end we believe jiu-jitsu can make people
better.
like people
Ourselves better, other people better.
exactly.
For sure.
So it's just doing something good for the community, giving
Spreading
back.
the love, man. Spreading the
Now
love.
you give, you give, you receive back, man. Whatever
Exactly.
you give.
Yeah,
So
Be
sometimes,
kind, people will be kind to
even
you,
on my
yeah.
day off, I want to come here. That's the problem. I love too much,
All right,
Thank
guys.
you, Fernando.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
Thanks so much.
man. Thank
I'll
you.
see you guys on the mats.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
All right.